Hello everyone, I am Damera Hima Vamshee and I have secured All India rank 548 in this year's Civil Services examination. I hail from Telangana and I have graduated from IIT Roorkee in 2018. Thereafter I have been preparing for Civil Services and this has been a decently long journey for me. I have given 5 attempts and in the meanwhile I have given 3 mains, 2 interviews, and fortunately this time I could find myself in the list. And in this long journey of mine I have done many mistakes, but at the same time there were also several learnings from the setbacks and challenges I have faced. So this is an attempt to tell you all the things I've learned in the process so that you don't have to repeat those mistakes and it could save you a lot of time and effort. And this session is specifically for sociology strategy, and I've put in all the things I've learned in this, not just mine but also the suggestions and insights I've received from my friends and mentors who have done very well in sociology. So I believe this can be helpful to you. So the session I'm going to attach was taken in along with an NGO, Diya Delhi. So they have been doing phenomenal job in educating students and also eventually building up the nation and serving the society. So I have the privilege of being a mentor with them. I have been associated with their program of Sambhavam, where they provide free coaching and mentorship to students who are academically good but economically poor. So that is a privilege I feel. I had this opportunity to help people with whatever little I know, and I hope you all walk on the same path, giving back to the society with whatever little you have. And in this session I try to keep my strategy in a crisp but yet a comprehensive manner. I try to be very honest with all the things I've done, and so I hope it helps you. और ये सेशन को मैंने कोशिश किया कि थोड़ा बहुत बाइलिंगुअल रखे ताकि ज़्यादा लोगों को मदद मिल सके इससे. And without wasting more time, we'll move into the sociology strategy. One second. Someone just tell me, are the slides changing?
Yes, sir, they are changing.
Okay. Yeah, this is my brief introduction. How ma'am has introduced me. So this is my mark sheet of this year. In sociology, I scored 127 plus 125, which is 252. These are not exceptionally high marks, but yeah, these were decent considering sociology's marking pattern this year. And more importantly, I would like to emphasize on the strategy which I have used. And this is not just mine, but I have also talked to several friends who have scored in 270s, 280s, or even 290s for that matter. And they have all added into this. They have chipped in certain points which they felt could benefit future aspirants. तो ये है कि मतलब 10-point strategy मैंने बनाया था कि this would be helpful for whoever students who are starting out और जिनका भी preparation हो गया, answer writing शुरू करने वाले हैं, and even to the people who have written mains and want to improve marks in sociology. So these are the things I've learned in my 5 years of journey. This is a process where I've refined my approach towards sociology. However, I want to give a disclaimer that these are the things which I have done and have decently worked for me. This is not the only way to do it. If you have any other better approaches, you can certainly stick to them. But having said that, this is an evolved strategy. मतलब मेरा भी पहले कुछ था, मैंने गलतियां की है, मैंने सुधारी है strategy को. So this is an evolved strategy and this is something I've refined over the years. So आप यहाँ से जरूर inputs ले सकते हो and you can add them into your strategy whichever you are following. So the first point is to memorize syllabus and go through PYQs. ये सबसे important step है because syllabus का अगर आपको idea है तो you can interconnect concepts and you can understand what things to focus on. And more importantly, by going through the PYQs carefully, आपको ये भी पता चलेगा कि कैसे questions पूछे जा रहे हैं और किन topics पे ज़्यादा emphasis लगाना है आपको. और questions अक्सर repeat होते रहते हैं PYQs में से. If you have observed, there are many questions which repeat from the PYQs, so it is an important exercise for you to memorize the syllabus and go through the PYQs. The second important step is to develop good understanding of the concepts. क्योंकि अगर आपके पास conceptual clarity नहीं है तो आपको अच्छे आंसर लिखना बहुत ही मुश्किल होगा. और इसके लिए one thing, you can attend any classes if you are able to afford it. Otherwise YouTube videos also work decently well. मैंने भी YouTube से ही किया था, मैंने कोई कोचिंग ज्वाइन नहीं किया. मैंने स्लीपी क्लासेस के वीडियोस देखा था और उसमें दे गिव डिसेंट conceptual clarity. There is also another channel called as Crash Course. It is a US or UK based channel and उनका एक कोर्स है सोशियोलॉजी पे that clears your basics on sociology. So this is not related to UPSC but more so related to sociology as a whole. But it was very helpful. Deciphering Sociology is a Telegram channel which again uploaded some concept-based videos and also different tasks. They gave a task for today checklist for things we can do. That again helped in better understanding of the concepts. So they gave activities, etc., like do this, study this. And this is the second part, like having good understanding of concepts. The third is to keep resources limited. So as many of us do, even I did run around many sources in the beginning. Harlan Bose, even the blue one, orange one, Ritzer, Upendra sir's notes, Mahabatra sir's notes. I did purchase all of them. I still have them with me right now, but I never even had the time to go through all of them. I just did a cursory glance. I realized कि ये notes में से तो पढ़ना मुश्किल होगा क्योंकि notes किसी और ने लिखा है, वो अपने हिसाब से लिखे होंगे और उसको कॉम्प्रहेंड करने में, उसको समझने में कई बार हैंडराइटिंग में भी दिक्कत होती है. तो ये सब करने से बेटर है मैं कोई मतलब नॉर्मल नोट्स से पढ़ लेता हूँ या फिर किसी बुक से पढ़ लेता हूँ. So after going through all those things, I narrowed down on these things. One is Essential Sociology by Nitin Sangwan sir. Then the second is Sleepy Classes Notes. The videos which I've watched, Sleepy Classes, they also uploaded the notes. Short है पर अच्छा था. So this was my base material for preparation. And one more important thing is that even when you write answers, you have to write within 250 to 300 words only. इससे ज्यादा आपको लिखने का मौका ही नहीं मिलेगा. और इस टाइम पे मतलब आपको ज्यादा पढ़ना या फिर नोट्स बनाना क्यों है, उसका कोई ज्यादा यूटिलिटी नहीं रहता है. एंड हरलम बोस का कुछ चैप्टर्स अच्छे हैं लाइक मेथोडोलॉजी एटसेट्रा, बट आफ्टर गोइंग थ्रू दीज थिंग्स आई हैव रियलाइज्ड कि ये स्लीपी क्लासेस नोट्स हो या फिर नितिन सांगवान सर के बुक हो, these are also basically notes. These are also notes which have been compiled from Harlan Bose and Ritzer. So अगर आपको conceptual clarity है तो आपको ये standard books बार बार पढ़ने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. You can even skip them if you have that conceptual clarity. And IGNO material I would suggest reading for thinkers part, because IGNO basically distance learning courses देते हैं. And distance में मतलब आपको पढ़ के समझने के लिए you have to write it in lucid language, and that is what IGNO does. इस वजह से वो थोड़ा बल्कि भी हो जाता है. For that reason I wouldn't recommend all the IGNO material, but specifically for thinkers, क्योंकि thinkers is the base foundation of your sociology optional. अगर आप ये अच्छे से कर लोगे तो most of the things will get easier. BK Nagla sir का book I have used selectively for Indian thinkers, especially the ones in the syllabus like Ghurye, Desai, and Srinivas, B.T. Dumont also. These things you can do from BK Nagla sir's book. The fourth step, which is again important, is to make short notes and revise it multiple times. तो अगर आप short notes बना लोगे तो it helps in quick revision and retention of the information. आपको एक collection of keywords भी मिलेगा ये short notes बनाने पे, pointer type, and these keywords help you make the answers sociological. यही मतलब अक्सर लोग बोलते हैं ना कि सोशियोलॉजी में जीएस आंसर्स नहीं लिखना है या फिर जीएस टाइप आंसर्स नहीं लिखना है. ये टर्मिनोलॉजीज जो है यही बनाते हैं अपने आंसर्स को सोशियोलॉजिकल. I'll show you in the subsequent slides. ये क्रिस्प नोट्स है जो मैंने बनाया था एलियनेशन टॉपिक के लिए. एक ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन छोटा सा, उसके बाद कुछ कुछ पॉइंट्स बनाए थे, ये नितिन सांगवान सर के नोट से बनाया था. As a few things I did add up from sleepy notes as well, sleepy classes का. ये मतलब the book which it was mentioned and the ways in it happens, the types of alienation, some keywords or phrases here. To this you can add up criticism by certain thinkers. And yeah, criticism is important for any topic you read. So whichever topic you read, make it a point you add some criticism by some of the prominent thinkers of the topic. और recent examples भी add कर सकते हो, जैसे कि Google ने open offices दिया है, even Amazon, and also there is job rotation in Japan, like they are introduced to different types of different processes in the same different steps of the process, so that they don't feel alienated from the process. उनको मतलब सारे चीजों का समझ आती है and they feel included. तो ऐसे initiatives you can add here in your crisp notes. So these are the sociological keywords I was talking about. अगर class struggle एक topic है, class struggle is a topic under Karl Marx. In your answers, you have to include as many as possible. The class in itself, class for itself, true consciousness, false consciousness, antagonistic cooperation, class polarization, etc. These are the keywords which have to be included in your answers. For example, there is a phenomenon where the rich are getting richer and poor are getting poorer. In GS, maybe we would call it as increasing inequalities. But in sociology, you have to specifically term it as class polarization. Similarly, if you are talking about unity, unity in a society, that is a GS word. But in sociology, you have to call it social solidarity. So these are certain keywords and tweaks which you use to make GS answers sociological. तो फर्स्ट द फिफ्थ इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट ये है कि आपको थोड़ा बहुत वैल्यू एडिशन करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि स्टैंडर्ड चीजें तो हर कोई लिख रहा है, उसके ऊपर अगर हम कुछ लिखेंगे तो दैट डज फेच मार्क्स. इसी में आ जाएंगे ये थिंकर्स हो गए, एग्जाम्पल्स हो गए, केस स्टडीज एंड डायग्राम्स एटसेट्रा. दीज डू एड वैल्यू टू योर आंसर्स. एंड एट द सेम टाइम आई वुड सजेस्ट कि आपको ये वैल्यू एडिशन को रिलेवेंट और ऑप्टिमल ही रखना चाहिए. आपको बहुत ज्यादा नहीं डालना है ये सब. तो दिस इज समथिंग एन एनालॉजी माय फ्रेंड हैज टोल्ड मी अबाउट ब्रेड एंड बटर. जो स्टैंडर्ड इंफॉर्मेशन जो हम लिखते हैं वो ब्रेड है, और बटर जो है ये वैल्यू एडिशन है. अगर बहुत ज्यादा बटर डालोगे फिर भी टेस्ट सही नहीं रहेगा. तो फॉर दैट रीजन आपको ऑप्टिमल और रिलेवेंट ही रखना चाहिए वैल्यू एडिशन. योर बेस इज द ब्रेड एंड यू हैव टू keep that really well. बाकी आपको प्रायोरिटाइज करना चाहिए स्टैंडर्ड थिंकर्स को ओवर द लेसर नोन वंस. Any standard thinkers of the topic, they have to be given precedence. So that goes without saying. So I actually have done this mistake in my last year's sociology paper. In paper 2, I wrote many thinkers, I wrote many examples. I was expecting marks in the lines of 130 or 140. But I got only 96 in last year's paper 2. So after coming back, I did realize this was probably the mistake I have done. I have quoted many thinkers, many examples, and at the same time, I did not prioritize the standard thinkers over the lesser known ones. So you can avoid this mistake. This time I increased my marks by about 30 marks in paper 2 alone. So this is the thinkers notes for value addition which I have prepared. For example, if you talk about caste, you can use the thinkers here, the prominent ones like Ghurye, Srinivas, Dumont, Bite. These are the prominent ones. After that, you can write down about the lesser known thinkers. You may be able to use these in the subsequent answers. कहीं पे भी मतलब अगर कुछ specific चीजें लिखना पड़े तो ये use कर सकते हो, पर बहुत ज्यादा भी मत करना. मतलब स्टैंडर्ड थिंकर्स ही लिखना है आपको पहले, उसके बाद अगर स्कोप मिले या फिर if they are relevant, you can quote these things. And these are certain diagrams which you can use. Diagrams actually they help in breaking the monotony. जो आपने मतलब सिर्फ पैराग्राफ में या फिर सिर्फ थियरी लिख रहे हो, Diagrams help in better presentation as well. अगर ये आप देख रहे हो कि क्लास पोलराइजेशन हो रहा है, मार्क्स का आइडिया है ये, एंड मिडिल क्लास enlargement हो रहा है, this is the idea of Weber. So you can simply show it by using this diagram without using so many words and explanation. So this really helps. And here even you are trying to show the 3 types of modernity in Europe. Recent examples के साथ भी आपको connect करने पड़ेंगे. अगर आप न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ोगे, ये एग्जाम्पल आप देखोगे कि दलित यूथ किल्ड फॉर राइडिंग हॉर्स इन गुजरात, आपको इंस्टेंटेनियसली ये आना चाहिए कि अच्छा दिस इज रिलेटेड टू द कास्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन पार्ट ऑफ द सिलेबस और सोशल स्ट्रैटिफिकेशन, these things. And for that you have to be very well aware of the syllabus. इसीलिए मैं बोल रहा था आपको सिलेबस को मेमोराइज करना चाहिए. अगर वो होगा तभी ये इजीली कनेक्ट कर पाओगे आप. कोविड लॉकडाउन हुआ है और इस टाइम पे मतलब देयर हैज बीन इंक्रीज डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस अगेंस्ट वुमेन. इसमें आप इस टॉपिक से कनेक्ट कर सकते हो, जेंडर वायलेंस एंड आल्सो द चेंजिंग फैमिली, मतलब फैमिली में कैसा इंटरैक्शंस बदल रहा है, या फिर सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग एज अ न्यू फॉर्म ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी. अनटचेबिलिटी इन इटसेल्फ इज अ टॉपिक ऑफ द सिलेबस. Darren Samika, you can use this. Cricketer faced racist slurs during IPL. So you can connect this to the racial discrimination dimension, racial stratification in chapter 5. So this is how you can connect recent examples to the syllabus. And examples, ये सब भी try to limit it to only like 2 or 3 examples. Anyway, you are not going to, and you will not be able to use so many examples in the exam. So it doesn't make any sense collecting like 10 examples per topic. So just keep it 2 or 3, but make sure you are using those examples wherever there is need. And the sixth point is doing daily answer writing, because no matter how much you study, how much value addition you make, thinkers, examples, etc., ultimately यही important है कि how well you integrate all these things into the answers. अगर आप seamlessly integrate नहीं कर पा रहे हो, आपका आंसर मतलब काफी चॉप डाउन, फोर्स्ड और मैकेनिकल लगेगा. ये नहीं होना चाहिए. और इस वजह से you can write 2 answers every day. 2 answers is not so much, but 2 answers over a long period of time, it helps you improve a lot. And that is how this exam is. You have to make small minor improvements every day, and ultimately you will have massive improvements by the end of it. And one more thing I wanted to point out here is that notes and answer writing go hand in hand. अगर आपके notes अच्छा है तो आपके answer writing भी उतना ही अच्छा होगा. More often than not ऐसा ही होता है. So when you are writing answers, you also get to realize कि अच्छा ऐसे answer लिखने के लिए notes किस type का होना चाहिए. So in that way, you will have to keep modeling your notes and answer writing techniques side by side. Daily answer writing के बाद, you have to dissect the answer and check for the parameters of a good sociology answer. क्योंकि अगर आपको ये good sociology answer क्या है, ये चीजें पता चलेंगे, then you can assess your answers regularly. You can assess your answers regularly based on those parameters. वो चेकलिस्ट में आप देके you can consciously improve on those areas. जहाँ पे भी आपको weak spots लगे, वहाँ पे आप improve कर सकते हो. So this is the checklist I have prepared for sociology, good sociology answer. These are some evaluation parameters which I have made. अगर आप इसमें देखोगे कि I did write an answer. I did write an answer here, and then I evaluated on all these parameters. ये देखता हूँ कि मतलब अगर डिमांड को मैं डायरेक्टली एड्रेस कर रहा हूँ या नहीं, देन कंटेंट रिलेवेंस कैसा है, इंट्रोडक्शन कैसा है, एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ थॉट कैसा है, सोशियोलॉजिकल कीवर्ड्स यूज कर रहा हूँ या नहीं, contemporary examples, did I use them, did I use enough thinkers, Indian perspective, did I introduce it. Indian perspective, I feel it helps if you use Indian perspective in paper 1 answers as well. So anyway, it is not completely delineated कि paper 1 you have to write world thinkers, global thinkers, and paper 2 for Indian thinkers only. There is nothing like that. So if you have any relevant thinker here, in stratification there is something, or in gender-based questions, if there is something where you can introduce Karuna Ahmed, or such thinkers, whoever are related, gender-based thinkers, Leela Dubey, etc. If you can use them in techniques for data collection, it does help. ऐसे ही प्रेजेंटेशन को आपको अच्छे से रखना चाहिए, कंक्लूजन को भी. So if you see this, my analysis, so I have realized after 5 answers or subsequent answers, I have done this multiple times. I have realized, okay, my understanding the demand is fine. I don't have any problem there. But my issue comes here where the thinkers usage, I did not use enough number of thinkers over multiple questions. Similarly, I did realize the conclusion competence jo hai, so that was average. I have to improve on this. We try to pick up all these aspects and we improve on them bit by bit. So if you are weak in introductions, try to make a list of introductions wherever you, for each topic and subtopic, you can use those introductions in the exam. अगर आपके पास prepared list है तो आपका बहुत time बच जाएगी exam में, क्योंकि exam में it will be very difficult for you to think and keep on writing. If you have many of the things prepared, वो जल्दी हो जाएगा आपके लिए. मैंने कुछ बनाया था, जैसे कि रेडीमेड इंट्रोडक्शंस मैंने बनाया था आइडियल टाइप्स के लिए, सोशल मूवमेंट, सेक्युलराइजेशन. आई हैव मेड दिस फॉर मेनी ऑफ दीज. ये सैंपल दिखा रहा हूँ आपको, क्योंकि अगर सोशल मूवमेंट बोलेंगे, सोशल मूवमेंट हम सबको पता ही है क्या होता है सोशल मूवमेंट. बट इफ समवन आस्क्स यू टू डिफाइन सोशल मूवमेंट out of the book, it becomes difficult for us to define what a social movement is in a decent wording. तो यहाँ पे अगर आप रेडीमेड इंट्रोडक्शन बना लोगे, like it is defined as a sustained collective action aimed at bringing or resisting social change outside the sphere of established institutions, that will help in saving time during answer writing, and also it gives a decent impression. It gives a good impression on the examiner. And this is not something we have made up. This is again given by Giddens. Giddens is a standard thinker when it comes to social movements, study over social movements. Similarly, secularization pe topic hai, to you can write this by quoting Brian Wilson. And at the same time, ready-made conclusions bhi aap bana sakte ho, like I have made for anything comparing non-positivist or positivist schools. You can use this conclusion. और रिलीजन के किसी भी क्वेश्चन पे आई वुड बी एबल टू फिट दिस कंक्लूजन इजीली बाय माउल्डिंग इट अ लिटिल बिट. दैट गोस विदाउट सेइंग, मतलब एग्जैक्टली फिट करना तो मुश्किल है. एंड द थर्ड कंक्लूजन, इफ यू सी, it talks about the changes which are happening in institutions. So it can be used in family, marriage, etc., any kind of a social institution where things are changing. You can utilize these conclusions. And while making this list of introductions and conclusions, I would suggest you to make them broad theme based. Don't make very specific conclusions which will be limited to only one question. So if you make such conclusions, if you see this, the third conclusion, you can use it in any similar type of a question. अगर ऐसे conclusions है, ऐसे introductions है, तो आपको फायदा होगा कि you can fit them into any type of question related to that topic. And after that, I would again emphasize on preparing model answers for PYQs. Model answers on PYQs helps a lot because in paper 1, 70% of the questions repeat from PYQs. अगर आपने analyze किए हो तो आपको पता ही चलेगा ये. And paper 2 may be around 40 to 50% it does repeat, especially from the paper part A and part B of paper 2. इसमें I would suggest कि if you can brainstorm on the PYQs at least for the last 5 years, आपके पास बहुत सारे questions के answers बन जाएंगे. और total, मतलब if you see the paper, you will realize there are 8 questions and 2 are compulsory. In the remaining questions, you have to answer 3 questions, 1 from each section. इस केस में आपको मतलब total 19 questions लिखने पड़ेंगे. और 28 होंगे, उसमें 19 लिखना है। अगर उस 19 क्वेश्चंस में आपके पास 13 to 14 क्वेश्चंस का रेडीमेड कंटेंट है, अगर आपने बिफोर हैंड प्रिपेयर कर चुके हैं, तो वो बहुत जल्दी हो जाएगा और आपके पास अच्छे आंसर्स भी लिख पाएंगे आप। यू विल बी एबल टू सेव अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम एज वेल। तो इसलिए आई वुड से इट डेफिनेटली हेल्प्स टू प्रिपेयर मॉडल आंसर्स फॉर PYQs. And this is one PYQ model answer I just brought to show you people. So if it is, the question is how is sociology related to common sense? इसमें भी हमें बैलेंस करना चाहिए. So we start with a definition for common sense. Common sense का definition भी हो तो बेहतर है, क्योंकि मतलब अगर if someone asks you to define common sense, it becomes very difficult out of the blue. ये है कि sense of organized, typified, stock of taken for granted knowledge, so and so. तो ये standard definition है common sense का. उसके बाद थोड़ा बहुत लिखते हैं common sense के बारे में. फिर sociology क्या करती है, इसके साथ हम differentiate भी करेंगे common sense को. एक example भी देंगे कि हार्ड वर्क इनेविटेबली लीड्स टू सक्सेस. ये कॉमन सेंस है, पर ऐसा नहीं होता है हर बार. कि क्रॉनिक वेज गैप्स है, जेंडर रेशियल इनजस्टिसेस है, ये सब हमें सिर्फ सोशियोलॉजिकल स्टडीज ओनली विल गिव अस इनसाइट्स इनटू दिस. देयर आर सर्टेन concepts like elite self recruitment, social capital, etc. These are certain things sociologists show. However, one cannot deny the interplay between sociology and common sense. We show how non-positivists like George Simmel, Max Weber, etc., they have used common sense. They have emphasized on the importance of common sense in sociology. You can use such simple diagrams where common sense provides raw material for hypothesis building, and sociology, it refines and enriches common sense. So simple diagrams hai, but they do convey a lot of matter in them. और उसी चीज का आप एग्जांपल्स भी दे सकते हो, जस्ट टू वैलिडेट योर वर्ड्स बाय प्रोवाइडिंग सोशियोलॉजिकल स्टडीज बाय डिफरेंट थिंकर्स. यहाँ पे आप बता सकते हो कि सोशियोलॉजिकल स्टडीज हेल्प इन ब्रेकिंग डाउन कॉमन सेंसिकल स्टीरियोटाइप्स. यू शो दिस मार्गरेट मीड स्टडी वेयर इट शोकेस जेंडर रिवर्सल, रोल रिवर्सल इन ट्राइब्स. जो जेंडर स्टीरियोटाइप्स नॉर्मली होते हैं वैसा नहीं था वहाँ पे. शी आइडेंटिफाइड दैट बाय सोशियोलॉजिकल स्टडीज. Similarly, Ronald Fletcher, he calls that commonsensical knowledge is a science in embryo. मतलब उस पे स्टडी करके फिर सोशियोलॉजिकल इन्वेस्टिगेशंस बनेंगे, स्टडीज आएंगे. एंड अगेन एंथोनी गिडेंस also made a marital breakdown study that led to a commonsensical perception that marriage is a risky proposition. तो मतलब जैसे ही सोशियोलॉजिकल स्टडीज भी पॉपुलराइज होंगे, दे बिकम कॉमनसेंसिकल नॉलेज. और ये भी है कि बहुत सारे ब्रांचेस है सोशियोलॉजी के, लाइक फिनोमेनोलॉजी, एथ्नोमेथोडोलॉजी, दे डिराइव हेवीली फ्रॉम कॉमन सेंस. इसलिए मतलब दे आर नॉट टोटली डिफरेंट. एक बैलेंस्ड कंक्लूजन देना भी इंपॉर्टेंट होता है कि दो दे आरंट नेसेसरीली द सेम, दे आर इंटरट्वाइंड एंड हेल्प इन म्यूचुअली रीइंफोर्सिंग ईच अदर्स सब्जेक्ट मैटर. So in that way you can make decent answers for PYQs. अगर सेम आंसर आपको मतलब डायरेक्टली एग्जाम में बनाना है तो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा. इफ यू हैव सच थीमेटिक आंसर्स प्रिपेयर्ड बिफोर हैंड, इट विल बी इजी टू रेप्लिकेट इन द एग्जाम हॉल. तो इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ. बाकी इसके बाद आप फुल लेंथ मॉक टेस्ट दे सकते हो, और देना भी चाहिए, क्योंकि दिन में मतलब 2 अच्छे आंसर लिखना इज वन थिंग, and writing 19 decent answers in that time limit of 3 hours in that exam environment is a totally different ball game. और मेंस आंसर राइटिंग में मैं बोलूंगा कि तेरा 3 वाइटल पिलर्स, एक कंटेंट है, प्रेजेंटेशन है और स्पीड है. इन 3 चीजों को बैलेंस करके चलना पड़ेगा आपको. अगर आपके पास मतलब स्पीड कम है तो आपको उसी पे मतलब ज्यादा फोकस देना है. You can, like for example, if you have to write a question in 7 minutes, you can give yourself like 5 minutes, and आपको मतलब आंसर लिखना है 5 minutes में. Take 10 minutes and write 2 answers. Your content and presentation will get a bit deteriorated in the beginning, but it doesn't matter. If you are able to write a question in 5 minutes, even with a bit substandard presentation and content, it's okay to begin with. And with time, when you increase that to 7 minutes, your presentation and content will improve. If you are having lack in content and presentation, आप ऐसा कर सकते हो, उसी का रिवर्स. ये 7 minutes रहता है एक क्वेश्चन के लिए, आप 9 minutes दे सकते हो. 9 minutes दे के you can try to write better content with better presentation, and with time like try to decrease the time you take to 7 minutes. So by employing these techniques, you should be able to write decent answers, 19 decent answers in 3 hours. That is possible. And one thing I would say while writing full length tests, basically is you have to stick to the time limit. अगर टाइम लिमिट के साथ आप स्टिक नहीं करोगे तो फिर वही होगा कि आप ज्यादा टाइम लेते रहोगे, आपके वो स्पीड डेवलप नहीं होगी, वो मतलब इंस्टिंक्ट डेवलप नहीं होगा. कि कई बार मतलब एग्जाम में ऐसे सिचुएशंस भी आ सकते हैं जहां पे आप मतलब यू हैव ओनली 30 minutes and you have to write 5 or 6 answers. So that has happened with me, and I was able to finish those answers. Obviously the content would not be great, but it would be decent. And for that to happen and you not to panic in that situation, you have to practice that situation deliberately at home. और जैसे ही आपके मेंस नोट्स, क्रिस्प नोट्स आप मल्टीपल टाइम्स रिवाइज करते रहोगे, योर स्पीड आल्सो इंक्रीजेस, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम आंसर लिखने में स्पीड जो होता है, इट्स नॉट मोर अबाउट द राइटिंग स्पीड बट मोर अबाउट थिंकिंग स्पीड. अगर आपके मन में पॉइंट्स आ रहे हैं तो लिखना हो जाएगा वो. योर राइटिंग स्पीड विल रेयरली बी ए हिंड्रेंस इन मेंस. योर मतलब फिजिकल कैपेसिटी उतना बढ़ जाएगी अगर आप मतलब 2-3 पेपर लिख ही दोगे. और वैसे भी मेंस में आप प्रैक्टिस करके जाओगे ना कुछ कुछ पेपर्स, तो यू विल बी एबल टू राइट, बट यू हैव टू बी एबल टू थिंक क्विकली. और मेंस नोट्स वगैरह जल्दी रिवाइज करोगे, क्रिस्प नोट्स, तो यू विल बी इन ए मच बेटर पोजीशन. एंड low scores, you may get low scores while writing mains answers, mains mock tests, but low scores is not a problem, don't worry about that. However, stagnating at a low score is, if you are stagnating at a low score, then you have to identify why you are stagnating there, and again you have to go back to those key aspects which I have discussed, the parameters which make sociology answer good. You have to identify which areas we are lacking and how can we improve on those things. So that is how you will stop stagnating there and you will keep improving. So this is the schema I have used for sociology paper while attempting questions. I wanted to know one thing, like how many of you are giving mains this time? You guys can speak out if any one of you are giving.
Sir, what is this मतलब schema for socio paper, मतलब कैसे पेपर अटेम्प्ट करना है?
जी जी ठीक है. मतलब मैं ये बोल रहा था, अगर आप मेंस दे रहे हो तो ये आप पेपर कुछ प्रैक्टिस टेस्ट वगैरह देखे होंगे, PYQs भी देखे ही होंगे. इस सेंस में मतलब पहले मैं भी ये करता था कि पेपर आते आई यूज्ड टू ट्राई टू decide which questions I should attempt. But in that attempt, like in that making that choice, I used to lose like 10 to 15 minutes. So that was not a wise decision. In retrospect, I understand that. फिर बाद में जाके मतलब मैंने ये develop किया, like to use this method. As question 1 and question 5, they will be compulsory. You have to attempt them anyway. So you can attempt these questions first. After attempting these questions, मतलब आप बहुत सारे thinkers use किए होंगे, concepts use किए होंगे, and you will be in a better position to decide on which questions you have to attempt later on. It will be easier to make that choice. And यहाँ पे मैंने 5 minutes में I used to decide the option questions which I have to attempt, and then attempt them on in that 35 minutes. So this one helped me, like attempting these 2 compulsory questions first. Only after that I used to decide on which questions I have to attempt, the choice questions. One more thing is this section wise prioritizing. जैसे कि पेपर 1 में अगर आप देखते हो, मतलब not many people would be aware of this. I think even I got to know this lately during my last attempt. See, in section A, the questions come from chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in section B, the questions come from chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this area here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is more about the static part. If you are doing well, we are studying the crisp notes, made thematic answers from PYQs, model answers, then you will be able to write these answers decently well. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are the areas where questions come more with application based, जो मतलब करंट अफेयर से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस है, वर्क फ्रॉम होम वगैरह, मान लो कि मतलब सेम सेक्स मैरिजेस हो गया और एनईपी हो गया, थिंग्स लाइक दैट कम इन दिस एरिया. इसमें आपको प्रिपेयर्ड कंटेंट करके जाना थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है, बट दिस इज अगेन एन एरिया वेयर यू कैन इनोवेट. इफ यू आर रियली गुड विद दैट, इफ यू प्रिफर दैट, दिस इज एन एरिया विच यू कैन चूज. बट हैविंग एन आइडिया that section A में ये होते हैं, section B में ये होते हैं, helps you better decide which things you can play on. I was someone who was more comfortable attempting the standard questions, so I used to choose my choice questions. There are 3 choice questions. You have to choose one from each section and one from either section, like one from section A, one from section B, and then one you can choose from either section A or B. So that second choice question, the third choice question, I used to choose from section A because I was more comfortable with this. Similarly, paper 2 में भी ऐसा ही होता है. Section A में part A and B से आते हैं questions, which is again the more predictable and the more preparable part. You can prepare this beforehand. Part C के थोड़ा सा current affairs type होता है. metoo हो गया, NEP हो गया, इस टाइप के, कोविड हो गया, ऐसे क्वेश्चंस इसमें आते हैं. So this is something you can just keep in mind. हाँ, पेपर 2 स्पेसिफिक कुछ चीजें मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि पेपर 2 में मैंने 30 मार्क्स इंप्रूव किया था इस बार. So what I have done is basically these 2-3 things. The first thing is you can do sociological analysis prior, before going to the exam, on major social issues like Me Too, COVID, NEP, etc. So I did try to put in some points in these areas. That thing helped. And another thing is that while answering questions, you have to think about the points first in paper 2, which is again different from the approach we use in paper 1. पेपर 1 में हम पहले थिंकर को मतलब ढूंढते हैं, उसके बाद उसके पॉइंट से एसोसिएट करते हैं. दैट गोस इन मेनी प्लेसेस. अगर आप एलियनेशन पे भी क्वेश्चन लिख रहे हो तो कुछ डेटा लिखोगे, फिर क्रिटिसिज्म में आप उस पॉइंट थिंकर को ढूंढोगे, ये थिंकर ने ये बोला है, ये थिंकर ने ये बोला है. एंड इवन इन जेंडर बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ केस स्टडीज, व्हेन यू हैव टू कोट, यू remember the thinker first and then write the point. That is the standard paper 1 strategy we use, and that works pretty good for paper 1. But the problem comes in paper 2 because there are not many thinkers as such. मतलब बहुत सारे thinkers नहीं है paper 2 में. हमें सोचना भी मुश्किल हो जाता है और thinkers को सोचने के चक्कर में हमें points याद नहीं आते हैं. तो मैं ये किया इस बार कि I try to think on different points. Whenever I see the question, I think on the points first, and then points के बाद अगर associated thinker याद आ रहा है तो I will write that thinker. अगर thinker याद नहीं आ रहा है तो फिर भी point लिखना ही चाहिए. Don't worry कि thinker याद नहीं आ रहा. So for example, this was something I have made on Me Too protests. So I thought about different points, like it is a way of organizing solidarity against sexual abuse. तो मतलब ये सब sociological keywords है. Organizing solidarity, sexual abuse, condemning gender-based exploitation. You can see this point. I wrote manifestation of patriarchal mindset and violence and rape as a crime of power. This is the point I wrote. Thereafter, I attached it with Nawal el-Sadawi because I remembered कि अच्छा okay, Nawal el-Sadawi said this thing. And you can see here as well, like how social media developed a sense of imagined community across the world. This is the point which I thought about. After that, I added the associated thinker, Benedict Anderson. So these are some things which can help in sociology paper 2 specifically. And you can use these frameworks for answer writing. You can go syllabus wise from chapter 4 to chapter 10. For example, there is a question on globalization. You can think about how different thinkers or perspectives they think about that. For example, there is Marx. You can think about the conflict perspective, how he would say, conflict theorists would say, the developed nations are exploiting the developing and the underdeveloped or less developed countries. There is a world systems theory by Immanuel Wallerstein. He talks about this conflict theory. Again, Durkheim, you can talk about the functional theory, how he would say, not necessarily Durkheim, but the point, like the functionalist, they would say globalization has helped in integration of the world. The world is becoming more and more interconnected. And then there is specialization in various areas. Middle East has specialized in this petroleum products, etc. And East Asian countries, they are specialized more in manufacturing and assembly, such like that. And chapter 5, you can say there is stratification, global north and global south. Chapter 6 would talk about different informal labor is increasing, sweatshops are increasing. While going to chapter 7, you can think about how the nation state boundaries are becoming blurring due to globalization. And religion, there is a rise of more sects and cults, and they are spreading, like ISKCON sect and this Osho cult. They all have grown throughout the world because of globalization only. Again, families, you can see there are international marriages, interracial marriages. That is due to globalization. They have increased due to globalization. So that is how you can use this syllabus topics as a framework. And for that, again, as I am emphasizing again and again, आपको syllabus topics memorized होना चाहिए. Not just the main headings of the chapters, but also the points which are present inside that heading. And perspective wise is another framework you can use, as we have also discussed while talking about the syllabus, like functional perspective, conflict perspective, feminist perspective would talk about how women were not encouraged into taking more and more jobs. Or you can talk about how subaltern theorists would say there has not been enough emphasis on the contributions of the subaltern people. That is one framework. The third framework is about writing the functions and dysfunctions. This you can use while discussing about any phenomena. For example, COVID हो गया और work from home भी आ सकता है. इसमें when talking about the impacts, you can divide it into functions and dysfunctions. Basically pros and cons ही है और sociology answer है, इसीलिए हम functions और dysfunctions बोलते हैं इस पे. इसी में you can use like during work from home, ये कुछ functions है, मतलब इनको ज़्यादा liberty मिलता है, घर पे रहेंगे. Things like that you can write. और बाकी dysfunctions में you can say how there has been toxic productivity, how they are being given more and more work. At the same time, there has been blurring between their personal and professional life. These are the things you can write. And when you talk about any social institutions and the changes which happened in that, you can use this perspective of how discussing it, the changes in terms of structures, functions, and interactions. You can use it here. Like, for example, if you discuss about family, the structure of family has been changing, like from joint family to nuclear families, and the functions have been changing. Earlier, family used to be the source of education and child upbringing, but now there are separate institutions for that. School bhi aa gaya, child care centers bhi hai. And interactions bhi aap dekh sakte ho ki pehle the eldest male of the family was the authority, par abhi aisa nahi hai. Abhi the breadwinner has the authority. And again, there are symmetrical relations between the women and man. पहले ऐसा नहीं होता था. These are the changes which you can explore in any social institution in these terms: structures, functions, and interactions. Key concepts जो कुछ भी है, you can again sprinkle wisely throughout these perspectives, like pink collar jobs हो गया, glass ceiling effect. These are some things you can sprinkle wisely. And this is one major thing I have found, like CP classes. They gave this acronym MTCR, FCG, PEC. This helps in remembering or recollecting, gathering more and more points. For example, if there is, you are asked to write the impacts of urbanization. So if you are asked to write 5 impacts of urbanization, it becomes difficult to think if you don't have any proper structure. पर अगर आप इस स्ट्रक्चर में, इस फ्रेमवर्क में सोचोगे कि अर्बनाइजेशन के वजह से क्या क्या चेंजेस आए हैं, तो मोबिलिटी में आप देख सकते हो कि लोग माइग्रेट किए हैं फ्रॉम रूरल एरियाज टू अर्बन एरियाज. यहाँ पे कास्ट भी थोड़ा ब्लर्ड हो रहा है बिकॉज ऑफ अर्बनाइजेशन. पीपल लिव टुगेदर, दे ईट टुगेदर. और रिलीजन भी देख सकते हो आप, सेक्ट्स एंड कल्ट्स डेवलप हो रहा है अर्बनाइजेशन के वजह से. एंड फैमिली भी, from joint family it is turning more into nuclear family. And child also, you can see like how children are becoming more important in the family. Heliocentric families are being developed. Gender, you can say like how urbanization and the urban values have helped in in developing more symmetrical relations among the spouses. So different types of things you can discuss if you have this framework in mind. Okay, so as we are talking about answer writing, these are some frequently asked questions which I want to address here itself. जैसे कि लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि आंसर राइटिंग कब शुरू करना है? When should we start writing answers? Like should we start it after finishing the entire syllabus or after finishing the chapter? देखिए, इसमें ऐसा है कि अच्छे आंसर लिखने के लिए आपके पास थोड़ा सब्सटैंशियल मैटर तो होना चाहिए. So I wouldn't suggest starting answer writing straight after finishing a chapter. You need to have some basic understanding of almost all the major aspects of sociology. Like thinkers का आपका idea होना चाहिए, stratification, work, religion, politics, family. Only when you know these things and some basic concepts about all these things, तभी आप एक अच्छा आंसर बना पाओगे. और सिर्फ आंसर लिखना अपने आइडिया नहीं है ना. वी हैव टू नो थिंग्स एंड वी हैव टू कीप ऑन इम्प्रूविंग ऑन दोस थिंग्स. सो फॉर दैट रीजन आई वुड से एटलीस्ट आफ्टर यू फिनिश योर बेसिक रीडिंग ऑफ पेपर 1, दैट इज व्हेन यू कैन स्टार्ट राइटिंग आंसर्स. एंड एक और सवाल आती है कि आंसर्स अपने कैसे एवेल्युएट करें. और ये काफी मतलब दिक्कत होती है बहुत लोगों को अपने आंसर्स एवेल्युएट करने में. Primarily ये है कि you can check with the parameters list which I have provided. जो checklist दिया है, अच्छी sociology आंसर कैसा होना चाहिए. पर उसके बाद भी मतलब हमको जरूरत पड़ता है किसी के evaluation की. अगर आप अवॉइड कर सकते हो तो you can join any sociology answer writing evaluation program. That will certainly help. Nobody is perfect and even these programs are not perfect, but they do certainly help you to move in a proper direction. Besides that, if you cannot afford such programs, etc., the paid programs, you can do one thing. You can download toppers copies and then you can pick the questions related to whichever topic you want to write the answer. और उस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर लिख के आप खुद ही evaluate कर सकते हो. You can compare it with the toppers answers. So what all points did they cover? What all points did you miss? Which all you should have covered? और अच्छी इंट्रोडक्शन कंक्लूजन भी मिल जाएंगे आपको उसमें से. तो ऐसा है. इसके अलावा आप मैंने भी मतलब I did this PYQ brainstorming with my friend. So it took us a lot of time, but I believe we have covered many aspects of answer writing and interlinked with several topics. वो मेरा चैनल पे है, टेलीग्राम चैनल पे. I'll lead you to that channel in some time. आप उसमें से भी देख सकते हो कि which all points could have covered, how the introduction and conclusion could have been made better through answer writing. So these are the things which you can cover. And one more question I am asked is, what is the difference between daily answer writing and full mock tests. तो इसमें क्या डिफरेंस है और कैसे मैनेज करना है दोनों को? See, I would say full mock tests are important to manage your time. In the exam, it becomes difficult many a times when you try to write the answer straight away for 3 hours. It becomes difficult. You have to do that for that practice and also how to manage time in the meanwhile. But if you are talking about answer enrichment happens basically with the daily answer writing. तो वहीं पे आपका ईच आंसर आप चेक कर पाओगे उस सोशियोलॉजी आंसर का चेकलिस्ट के साथ उस पैरामीटर्स के थ्रू, वैसे आंसर एनरिच कर पाओगे ईच आंसर। अगर आप एवरी आंसर को इम्प्रूव कर पाएंगे तो आपका 3 और फुल मॉक टेस्ट भी अच्छा होगा। बट एसेंशियली डेली आंसर राइटिंग इज फॉर आंसर एनरिचमेंट एंड फुल लेंथ मॉक्स आर फॉर टाइम मैनेजमेंट। ऐसा नहीं है कि ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है ये कम है, दोनों इंपॉर्टेंट है, बट ईच हैज इट्स यूटिलिटी। So this is what I wanted to convey here. And moving to the last part of it, I would say by now you have done enough effort. You have put in so much hard work. So you have to be confident in your efforts. See, I would say you have to trust the process, and even our beloved Dhoni says that you have to trust the process. Don't worry about the outcome, because the outcome is what leads to the nervousness and tension we all have. You have to keep working hard. You should not compromise on your efforts anytime. Don't compromise on your efforts. You should be aiming high. I don't say you should not be, because every warrior, they want to win. You should be aiming high for 300 plus, but at the same time, I would suggest you should give up something which you never had and you never will, which is control over the circumstances. You cannot control everything. We can only control the controllables which are in our hand. There are many things which we cannot control. These things like luck, destiny, fortune, subjectivity, call it by whatever name you want. But this is there. But at the same time, as they say, fortune favors the brave. Fortune favors the people who work hard. Or the harder you work, the luckier you get. So keep working, and someday the stars will certainly align for you. And be confident in your work. At the end of the day, you have to be honest with yourself and satisfied with whatever you're doing. That is what matters the most. Yeah, this is all I had to say about sociology strategy. Thank you for listening. And this is my Telegram channel for any notes and other strategies. I keep sharing on my Telegram channel. You can follow that for everything you want to. And thank you. I hope the session was helpful. So this is all I have learned about sociology in my journey, and several insights from my seniors, mentors, and friends. I hope this all helps you. Thank you.